and welcome. This is the Market Wrap. I am Agam Vakil. Well, we have seen advances on, the benchmark indices. As you can see, the Nifty advancing by around 78 points. And a bulk of the strength is coming here on the back of Bajaj Finance and Bharti Airtel, along with, a whole host of OMCs. Considering we have seen a correction in, crude and quite a substantial correction too. On the other hand, Bajaj Auto declining by, 4.5%. And we will talk about that in a little more detail in just a bit. Yes Bank, Dr. Reddy's and Grasim Industries also declining. Again, when it comes to the broader markets, considering the Nifty 500, we have about 3 gainers for 2 losers. Canfin Home stands out. That's followed by something like an Oberoi Realty that's advanced by around 10%. IFL Holding, Mahindra and Mahindra, along with Group Finance, all advancing in trade. On the losing end, we have some weakness in Kerala Healthcare, SIS, Bombay Dyeing, and of course 8K Miles Software as usual on another lower circuit, followed by Sonata Software. But to get a better understanding of the technicals, perhaps, I have Manav here with us who looks at technicals very closely. Manav, thank you for joining me. If you could tell us about how you're seeing the markets right now. Let's talk about the Nifty first. Where do you see it heading?
See, most importantly, Nifty has tested its important crucial support levels, and it has already witnessed 2 months of decline. 10,100, 200 are the important support zones where we expect a very sharp reversal to happen. Most importantly, because aggressive short squeeze pattern has been identified. Right. And today also when we see in Nifty, there is a bullish hammer formation, which is nothing but a strong reversal. I sense in the near-term perspective, looking at the overall formation, and since the prices are bouncing from its oversold levels, 10,750 would be the immediate target that we are looking at for. Right. And which is the 50% retracement of its recent fall. And the chances that the stock index also has a chance to test the levels of 11,000. For a simple reason is that, when we look on the monthly chart perspective, whenever India VIX has rallied by more than 10% and the Nifty has given negative returns, the third month is usually a positive month. So, right. The whole scenario is coming into a space where it's time to take a contrarian bet and go aggressive longs. Okay, Manav, just a follow-up question on the Nifty Bank. I believe it'll be moving in tandem with the Nifty? Absolutely. In fact, Bank Nifty would see some sort of a more outperformance because when we look at the charts of Nifty versus Bank Nifty, in the recent decline, Nifty formed a new low, wherein the Bank Nifty formed a higher bottom. So this is nothing but a positive divergence. Right. And when such kind of formation usually happen, it usually indicates an impending trend reversal. And and today also the kind of a reversal that we've seen, the financials were the ones which were leading the from the front. And once if Bank Nifty closes above 25,100, we have made a report which we had discussed in the previous show. We are expecting at least 1,000 points move on the Bank Nifty going forward. Right. On the immediate basis, 26,200 would be the targets, and eventually the next targets would be at 26,500. Manav Chopra, thank you so much for joining us and giving us that view on the Nifty. There you have it. That's as far as the technical review is concerned. But we've just had the Wipro earnings come through right now, just a few minutes ago. And while the top line seems in line with street expectations, we have seen a very big miss when it comes to its operational metrics, especially the operating margin as well as your profitability. To take us through the numbers perhaps and give an idea about how these earnings have panned out, we have Madhu Babu joining us right now. Madhu, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. What is your initial take on Wipro right now? What have you made of these earnings?
See, there is a national law grid lawsuit settlement, which they already mentioned. That is almost $75 million. So that is actually impacting the reported EBITDA margins, EBIT margins. If you exclude that, I think margins should be decent. So they already indicated, if you see in the mid-quarter, that they will take this lawsuit settlement because they paid a fine to National Grid for the lawsuit settlement. So that is impacting the reported EBIT margin. Otherwise, numbers on the revenue side, numbers look decent, revenue beat. I don't have the dollar revenue and forward guidance as of now. So from whatever numbers we have, I think numbers look decent.
Okay, so Madhu, on the whole, there's no problem with respect to the valuations at which Wipro is currently trading at. Considering the earnings right now, would you change its ratings? And this is, of course, going with the assumption that even the guidance for the next quarter will largely be in line with expectations?
See, we have it more like a value stock because Wipro, the cash is around 20,000 crore on balance sheet. And they do regular buybacks, sizable buybacks. So almost 8.5% of equity has come down through last 2 buybacks. So we are expecting another buyback in January. So, and the valuations, I think the stock is trading at kind of 14 times FY20 earnings. So it is reasonable and there's a buyback trigger in the stock. So we have a hold rating as of now on the stock.
Okay, Madhu, we leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us and taking us through the numbers. Of course, we await the guidance for the next quarter. But that said, there are plenty of other updates that we need to take into account, considering it was an earnings-heavy day. And we have Shraddha Babla now joining us to give us an update on Kotak Mahindra Bank. Shraddha, over to you.
So, Agam, broadly, the numbers were in line with estimates. If you look at the net profit growth, that came in at nearly 15%, in line with what the street was working with. Net interest margins did contract by about 10 basis points. But if you look at the operational performance also, the net profit growth came in at, the operating profit growth, came in at 21%, led largely by a strong growth in the fee income. You look at the growth parameters, loan growth came in at 21%, led by 27% growth in the retail book, while the corporate book growth moderated to about 17%. Remember, in the previous quarter, the bank had flagged off concerns on their SME business, which is business banking. So that book has remained flattish. As far as the asset quality performance is concerned, it remains steady. The gross NPA number was unchanged at 2.15%. We also saw a marginal downtick as far as the SMA 2 outstanding is concerned. They did share their exposures to NBFC sector, which is at about 5.2% of its advances, and they have a 3.1% exposure to the commercial real estate sector. So broadly in line set of numbers, but what exactly or which method the promoter uses to bring down their his stake to 20% by December 2018 is going to weigh on Kotak Mahindra Bank, at least in the near term.
Right, Shraddha, thank you for joining us and taking us through the numbers. We've also had earnings from IndiGo Aviation right now, and as expected, we have a loss on the bottom line. We have Samit Sarkar now joining us to take us through numbers. Samit, how are you reading the earnings?
So if you see the IndiGo numbers, it is a miss on all fronts. Now if you see the revenue had come in at around 6,185 crore rupees. There is a growth of around 17%, but analysts were working with a number of close to growth of around 24%. So that's where that's where the miss has come in on the first front. Now the net loss, the company has reported a net loss of around 652 crore rupees. Analysts were going with a number of close to 450 crore rupees. Now this net loss amount would have been higher for IndiGo if they would not have got a credit of a deferred tax asset of close to 300 crore rupees. So if you see the actual net loss amount, that is close to 988 crore rupees for IndiGo. On the operational front, the EBITDA has come in around 111 crore rupees as against 1,557 crore rupees reported by the company last year. And the margins, now that have seen a sharp drop, and in the second quarter of financial year 2019, it has come in at around 1.8%. So that's a very big hit that IndiGo has seen, and this is on the back of competition, lower ticket prices, weaker rupee and higher fuel prices that have impacted the financials of IndiGo in the second quarter of financial year 2019. Now if you see the ticket prices, now yields which measure the average earnings per passenger per kilometer, now that has declined by nearly 10% to 3.21 rupees, while the cost per seat has increased by nearly 24% to close to 3.7 rupees per seat kilometer for IndiGo. So all in all, it was a very bad quarter for IndiGo, and it was a miss on all front for IndiGo earnings.
All right, Samit, thanks for joining us and getting us those details. And moving on from one earnings to another, we also have Bajaj Auto, which was the top nifty loser in today's day of trade. And we have Yatin Mota, who looks at the numbers very closely, joining us to give us an idea. Yatin, not good numbers?
Well, it was an operational miss, Agam, and despite a 21% kind of a growth on the revenue side, we had Bajaj Auto, which clearly disappointed on the operating front. In fact, if you look at the margins, they came in at 16.8%. versus the expectations of 17.4%. And if you look at it on year-on-year basis, we saw almost a 3 percentage points decline. Of course, this is to do with the product mix, which has been weakening. And despite the 33% plus kind of a growth for exports as well as for the three-wheeler sales, the company's margins came in at multi-quarter lows. Even it was lower than the margin which was there in the GST disruption quarter a year back. So clearly, on the margin front, disappointment, and that probably translated into the deep cuts that we saw in the share price. Of course, we'll wait and watch for the management commentary in tomorrow's conference call with analysts as to what their view is on the rural demand, the festive demand, and how really are they tackling competition in the domestic motorcycle segment.
Okay, Yatin, thank you for joining us and taking us through those numbers. So there you have it. That's a whole host of earnings. But we also have an update in Zydus Wellness, and now we have Darshan Mehta joining us to give us an update with the same. Darshan?
Yeah, so basically what happened was Kraft Heinz wanted to sell some of their products, and the deal, M&A deal happened with Zydus Wellness. It's a 4,600 crore deal that is happening, but surprisingly, the big knock came in Cadila Healthcare. You can see it's down almost 5%. Now the deal is that it is both Zydus Wellness backed by Cadila Healthcare, which is buying the company. We spoke to the management to get a sense of why Cadila is being involved in a deal, where it has nothing. It's a majority shareholder of Zydus Wellness, but the management wasn't very convincing. They said that in the past, Zydus Wellness has created shareholding wealth and market cap wealth for its shareholders, and that's why. So he hasn't given any kind of reasoning why Cadila and how it will benefit, but a quite bit of funding, a small portion of the funding for the deal will come in from Cadila Healthcare, and that's why it was down almost 5%. But overall on Zydus, yes, it's a good deal. They get significant amount of strength, they get significant amount of brands on their book,
right,
but not the best deal for Cadila.
Okay, well, watch out for those two stocks. Darshan, thank you for joining us and getting us those updates on both those stocks. So plenty of stocks out there to watch out for and keep an eye on. As we move into trade tomorrow, we will have more earnings coming through. With that, it's a wrap on the markets, but lots more lined up, so stay tuned to Bloomberg.